Hello everyone. So today we are going to talk about the very first step in Informatica. So whenever we are setting up the Informatica, or rather the installation for Informatica is done, the very first step which an administrator will do is they will first create the Informatica repository. Once the repository is created, they will also create the repository service and the integration service. So these are the two primary services which will be called by the client, and that will be required for the entire ETL process within Informatica. So we will see how this is achieved. So let me first show you that my Informatica service, or my Informatica installation for the server and the client is done. So once the server and the client installation is done, I can have a admin console page where I can log in. So this is the installation details which I had given, and I have kept the super user name as administrator. So based on that credentials, I'm logging into the admin console. So for the very first time when you log in, by default, you can see that the domain and the node is there. So these all services will not be present. I had created them earlier, so that's the reason you can see it. But how to create this, that is what we are going to learn today. So to achieve this, I'm starting from scratch. So I'm taking Oracle as one of my RDBMS system on which I'm going to create a blank repository, and that I will use as the Informatica repository. So for that, I'm logging into the Oracle service using the admin credentials for Oracle. So this is my Oracle SQL prompt. On this, I'm going to create a new user. So for that new user, there will be a new namespace which will be allocated. So I'm giving as create user. Let me name this as demo underscore RNW underscore repo. So demo RNW repo. Again, RNW stands for the raise and ways. So I'm creating create user demo RNW repo identified by. I am keeping the same password for this user, and at the same time I am granting it all the permissions. So grant all privileges to this user identified by the same password. So I have now created the user and granted all the privileges to the same user. So now if I log in to the Oracle service using the newly created user or the new namespace, and if I do a select star from table name from user tables. So right now with this command, I'm going to see what are the tables which are available on this particular database user. So you can see select star from, sorry, I gave a wrong command here. So it has to be select table name from user tables. So you can see that there is no tables created. That's the reason it gave me an output as no rows selected. So this was expected because this is a new user which I created, which I have given all the privileges, and I'm going to use this particular database user for or rather as the Informatica repository. So what Next step which I'm going to do is I have to create a new repository service on this domain. So for that, right click on this domain node on this tree navigation panel and select new and say PowerCenter repository service. Again, it will open a two-step wizard. So let me name this as demo underscore rnw underscore repo underscore service. So this is the name I am proposing to my uh, repository service. Description, again, it's non-mandatory stuff. Location, basically this will show you all the locations which are available in your system. So this will give you all the domains. Right now I have one domain, so that's why I can see this domain by default selected. I'm selecting one of the license which I have. Along with that, I'm selecting the node. Select next. So now in the second step of wizard, it is asking me the database type. So you can see Informatica 9.5, the 9.1, the version which we are using. So it supports these four RDBMS systems as the repository. So I have created the new user on Oracle. I'm selecting the database type as Oracle, and my PB user which I have created. So this is demo underscore rnw underscore repo. Password is the same, and the connection string is Oracle. I'm keeping the code page as the same, but you should change this based on the data, or rather based on the database which you have created. So this means what kind of character encoding is supported within your database. Table space name is non-mandatory, so I'm not selecting that. Then you can see the next option which it is telling. It is saying that content exists under the specified connection string. So the first point, if you are selecting, that means the Oracle database user which you are giving as the connection string to connect the repository data, that already has the contents, and I do not want to create the content. But right now I have created this user as a fresh user and it has no content. So that's the reason I'm going to select the second option. In the second option, again, the first sub bullet point talks about creating this repository as a global repository. But global, once you make a global repository as global, it will be shared by all the instances of domain or node which will be connecting to this. So that means if it is global, you cannot revert it to local. So I'm not going to select this one, but I'm going to select the enable version control. This is required to make sure that whatever objects you create within Informatica, whether it's a source or target or the actual mapping object, so anything, if you want to make it as version control, make sure that you select this. And by default, you can see that enable the PowerCenter repository service is checked in. So that means once the services get created, it will be enabled. So select and finish. So as you can see that right now it is creating the service, and once the service is created, it will also enable the service because of the last check mark in the wizard, in the second step of the wizard which we have seen. So now you can see that the PowerCenter repository service is available. That means it is up and running. One quick thing which you should always remember, this is this repository property operating mode. By default, it is exclusive, but since I have not made the repository as global repository, I should change this to normal. So once I did this, it will again stop the service, or rather disable the service, restart all the components appropriately, and then enable the service again. So if you remember, while doing this, I have selected creating the contents at the time of uh, repository service creation on my second page of the wizard. So based on that, if I go now to this same user and fire the same query, that select table name from user tables. Earlier it gave me no rows selected. Now if I hit this query, you can see that 340 rows select, 42 rows selected. That means these are the 342 tables which are created by the Informatica system and which will persist all the Informatica objects. So if this is not being created, you could have created using this action, repository content, and create. Right now you can see this is disabled because it's already created. So good, our repository service is done. So the second step of our configuration is done. First step was creating the simple user. Then I created the repository service. Now the next step is I need to enable, or rather I need to configure a integration service. So for that, again, I'm going to the domain, do a right click on this and select new PowerCenter integration service. This is again a two-step wizard process. So here, let me name this as demo underscore RNW underscore integration service. The same stuff, same details I'm filling in. Again, node, I need to select one node, which is the default node for me right now. Now you can see that integration service needs repository service reference, because as we had discussed earlier, client talks to the integration service and integration service communicates to the repository service, and that repository service is responsible to either push the data to the database or get the data or fetch the data from the database, or rather repository. So I have just now created this demo RNW repo service. So that's the repository service I'm going to select. This is again the user which the Informatica user who is supposed to log into the system. So for now, I have not created any other user. So I'm going to use the administrator user, which was created at the time of installation. Again, data movement mode, I have two options, ASCII and Unicode. Right now, if you remember, I have selected one of the English Latin character encoding format, which is an ASCII format. So I'm selecting that for the integration service data movement as well. Then select on finish. So based on that, you can see that this is the same character encoding format which I had selected at the time of repository service creation. Select OK. So by default, this service gets created, but it is always in the disabled mode. I have to enable this once this is created. So for that, go to action and say enable the service. When you say that, this service also gets enabled, and based on this, that is the third step. I am now ready to use these services from the client. But the very important thing which I need to do next is I have to first create the repository on which my developers are supposed to work on. So for that, just go to the client for administrator, that is the repository manager. On this repository manager, in this tree navigation pane, you can see all these are the valid repositories which are created under the repository root node. Right now, I am supposed to create a new repository. By default, nothing will be there. So you can assume that no repository is created. I am going to create a new repository, but a uh, quick check is you will always have to use the same name as you have given to the repository service. So my repository service name is what? It is demo underscore rnw underscore repo service. So I'm going to use the same name. So let me copy this to avoid any typo here. And the username which I need to use is administrators. Click OK. So if you had made any mistake, if I want to go and connect this, I will not be able to connect. So let me see whether I can do the connection or not. Cool. So now you can see that I am now connected to this repository. Once my repository is all set, connected, the next step which an admin need to do is creating a folder. So basically creating a folder means I am creating a space for my developers to work on. And here I can give all the privileges which I need to give for my developers. So you can see there is a tab called permission. Here you can select list of user or a list of group or list all, means group plus user. And here you can go and add all these users whom you want to give the access. So these all capabilities are available directly on the folder. So once the folder is created, the people from the development team can start work on this. So right now I'm not changing anything. I'm giving that the permission to administrators and the group called others. So as the name says, you can see there is an icon change. So this guy is the administrator and this others is a group. So just keep on OK. You can see the folder has been created successfully. Now the client is all ready for your own development work. So if you go to any of the client, maybe the developer, you can see there is a demo folder already created which and connected to, and inside that your space for creating your development objects are all set. This is number one. If you go to workflow manager, again here also you can see that the repository is connected and the demo folder is already set for your workflow related tasks, or creation of jobs and other things can be possible using this workflow manager. So that's it for today. So this is one quick video for you all to know what the administrator's first task. If you like this video, hit on like button. If you have any questions, feel free to put a comment to me. As soon as I get the question and I get some time, I will revert to you. Thank you.